Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Tension mounts in Bangladesh as a tribunal sentences the nation's ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to death for crimes against humanity in absentia. India notes the verdict. Sheikh Hasina rejects all allegations, calls the tribunal's verdict biased and politically motivated, says she's been given no fair chance to defend her case in court. Japan sends its foreign ministry representative to Beijing to tamp down an escalating row with China over Taiwan. And France's Macron and Ukraine's Zelensky sign an accord for Kyiv to acquire up to 100 Rafale fighter jets and other hardware, boosting Ukraine's fight against Russia's assault. Bangladesh's International Crimes Tribunal on Monday has sentenced former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to death for crimes against humanity. A 453-page judgment read aloud for more than an hour concluded a month-long trial that found Hasina guilty on 3 charges. The tribunal, led by Justice Muhammad Ghulam Murtaza Majumdar, also delivered its ruling against 2 of Hasina's close associates, former Home Minister Asaduzzaman Khan Kamal and former Police Chief Chaudhry Abdullah Al-Mamun. According to the court, all 3 worked together to carry out atrocities aimed at killing protesters across the country. The trial had officially begun on the 1st of June earlier this year in the International Crimes Tribunal in Dhaka, and the tribunal formally indicted Hasina and the others on the 10th of July the same year. Now, Bangladesh's former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has denounced the guilty verdict and the death sentence that has been handed down to her in a crimes against humanity trial, calling the ruling biased and politically motivated. In a statement, Sheikh Hasina said, and I quote, "The verdict announced against me has been made by a rigged tribunal established and presided over by an unelected government with no democratic mandate. They are biased and politically motivated. For the record, I wholly deny the accusations that have been made against me in the ICT. I was given no fair chance to defend myself in court, nor even to have lawyers of my own choice represent me in absentia. I am not afraid to face my accusers in a proper tribunal where the evidence can be weighed and tested fairly. That is why I have repeatedly challenged the interim government to bring these charges before the International Criminal Court in The Hague. The interim government will not accept this challenge because it knows that the ICC would acquit me." The ICT's prosecutors produced no persuasive evidence to show that I ordered the use of lethal force against the people. Transcripts and audio files cited as evidence are fragmentary and have been taken out of context. End quote. Meanwhile, India's Ministry of External Affairs has issued a statement regarding the recent verdict in Bangladesh. India's Ministry of External Affairs said, and I quote, "India has noted the verdict announcement by the International Crimes Tribunal of Bangladesh concerning former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. As a close neighbor, India remains committed to the best interests of the people of Bangladesh, including in peace, democracy, inclusion and stability in that country. We will always engage constructively with all stakeholders to that end." End quote. Now, the UN Security Council is due to vote Monday on a resolution endorsing U.S. President Donald Trump's Gaza peace plan. Last week, the Americans officially launched negotiations within the 15-member Security Council on a text which would follow up on a ceasefire in the 2-year conflict between Israel and Hamas and endorse Trump's plan. A draft of the resolution welcomes the establishment of the Board of Peace, a transitional governing body for Gaza that Trump would theoretically chair, with a mandate running until the end of 2027. It would authorize member states to form a temporary international stabilization force, which would work with Israel and Egypt and newly trained Palestinian police to help secure border areas and demilitarize the Gaza Strip. The United States and several Arab and Muslim majority nations, including Egypt, Saudi Arabia and Turkey, called the UN Security Council to quickly adopt the resolution. The German government announced on Monday that it will lift restrictions on arms exports to Israel, which were imposed in August amid concerns over their potential use in the Gaza Strip. Government spokesperson Sebastian Hille confirmed the decision during a press briefing. He said the decision will allow the resumption of exports from the 24th of this month.
The restrictions on arms export to Israel announced in the federal government's press release of 8 August 2025 will be lifted. The listing of restriction will take effect on 24th November 2025. The background to this is that we have always said here that we would review this practice in light of development on the ground, and as you yourself just mentioned, we have had a ceasefire in Gaza since October 10, which has also fundamentally stabilized.
French President Emmanuel Macron and Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky signed a letter of intent for Kyiv to acquire up to 100 Rafale fighter jets and other air defense hardware from French companies, said the French presidency. The accord sets out possible future contracts for the acquisition by Ukraine of 100 Rafale fighter jets with their associated weapons, as well as the new generation SAMP-T air defense system under development, radar systems and drones. The letter of intent, which is not a purchase and sales contract, is projected to be realized over a time frame of about 10 years, said the French presidency again. And later, Zelensky said he has signed a deal with France in Paris to acquire 100 Rafale fighter jets aimed at strengthening Ukraine's long-term military capabilities against Russia's invasion. Discussions in recent weeks have focused on boosting Ukraine's air defenses, though questions remain over how much support France can provide amid its own political and budgetary strains.
Agreements have been prepared, and today important documents are being signed on a significant strengthening of our defense capabilities. And the first thing is that Ukraine will be able to receive 100 Rafale F-4 aircraft, very powerful French radars, 8 air defense systems, 6 launchers each. Well, these are details, probably technical details for someone, but for us it is important. Each launchers, all this is the protection of every life. This is very important.
And some tragic developments that are coming in from Saudi Arabia's Medina. Several Umrah pilgrims from India are feared killed after a bus travelling from Mecca to Medina collided with a diesel tanker in Saudi Arabia on early Monday. Some of them were reportedly from India's southern city of Hyderabad. Telangana Chief Minister Revant Reddy has expressed shock and set up a control room for assistance. The Chief Minister has directed State Chief Secretary and Telangana DGP to immediately gather details of the victims and confirm how many were from Telangana. He's also instructed officials to coordinate with the Ministry of External Affairs and the Saudi Embassy for urgent relief measures. The numbers of the control room at the State Secretariat are +91 79979 59754 and +91 99129 19545. President Draupadi Murmu has expressed her condolences on the tragic bus accident in Saudi Arabia's Medina, which resulted in the loss of many lives. The President said on X, and I quote, "Extremely sad to know about the unfortunate loss of lives of many Indian nationals in a tragic bus accident in Medina, Saudi Arabia. My deepest condolences to the bereaved families. I pray for speedy recovery of the injured," unquote. Prime Minister Modi has also expressed grief on the loss of lives in the Medina incident. Taking to social media, Prime Minister Modi said, and I quote, "Deeply saddened by the accident in Medina involving Indian nationals. My thoughts are with the families of those who have lost their loved ones. I pray for the swift recovery of all those injured. Our embassy in Riyadh and consulate in Jeddah are providing all possible assistance. Our officials are also in close contact with Saudi Arabian authorities," end quote. Now, a senior Japanese diplomat, Masaki Kanai, arrived in Beijing on Monday in a bid to ease the escalating row between the two nations. Kanai, who heads the Foreign Ministry's Asia and Oceania Bureau, is set to meet his Chinese counterpart Liu Jinsong this week. He is expected to clarify that Prime Minister Takaichi Sanai's comments do not mark a shift in Japan's security policy and to urge China to avoid actions which could further strain ties. Meanwhile, Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te has weighed in, accusing China of severely undermining regional peace through his confrontation with Japan.
China's mixed attacks against Japan has severely impacted peace and stability in the Asia-Pacific region. I urge the international community to continue to pay attention to the situation, and I call on China to show restraint, act like a major power, and not become the troublemaker in the region.
South Korea on Monday proposed holding military talks with North Korea, the first such offer since 2017, in an effort to prevent border clashes and ease rising tensions. Seoul cited recent incursions by North Korean troops as a cause for concern. Deputy Defense Minister Kim Hong-cheol said reopening military-to-military communication channels is essential to avoid escalation.
To prevent accidental clashes and ease military tensions, our military officials proposes that the two sides hold inter-Korean military talks to discuss the establishment of a clear reference line for military demarcation line. We look forward to a positive and swift response from the North to our proposals.
Of all the European economies, Germany has long been in the spotlight. Once the engine of Europe, the German economy has been weak for about 3 years now. Now the government in Berlin has announced some new measures to help bring growth back. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and is joining me from Berlin to talk about it. Good evening to you, Lars. What can you tell us about the government's plans?
Thanks for having me. Well, the timing is interesting for one. Just last week, the German government was roundly criticized by its own Economic Advisory Council. They gave the governing coalition a C- for their handling of the economy, and they warned that we won't see much more growth anytime soon if the government wouldn't step up its game. And now they did indeed. At least 3 ideas are out now. Many of them had been discussed for a while. So here we go. Among the biggest problems for the German economy were high energy prices. They were especially painful for those energy-intense businesses in the steel industry, in chemicals, and in such sectors. Now these energy-intense businesses will get their own price for energy, 5 cents per kilowatt hour. And that's around half of what they used to pay as of late. Now, one problem, the Council of Economic Advisors said just last week that a special discount for these companies is not much more than a band-aid, and that the government should tackle high energy prices on a much broader level. But at least we're seeing a first step here.
And what else apart from this? Anything outside the energy sector, Lars?
Yes, there are a few more ideas. Berlin is officially starting its much-discussed Germany Fund, or Deutschlandfonds, that's meant as an addition to an already established 500 billion euro infrastructure investment package. This fund is expected to invest in growth and innovation, according to the government. It is expected to support defense-oriented startups as well as new technologies in the energy field. And then there's also, interesting enough, lower airport fees. Now, that doesn't sound like a big deal, but in a way it is. Germany has the highest airport fees of all the industrialized countries, and that has led to two problems. Germans pay more for air travel, and there are fewer flights even offered because airlines are rather investing elsewhere, of course. Now, with lower fees, there might be change coming, although airlines will benefit a lot more than passengers. But all in all, the air travel situation will likely improve. And for a global player like Germany with an internationally connected economy, that is very important in and by itself.
Thank you, Lars, for that update from Berlin, and hope these steps re-energize the German economy. Now, India's electronics push has gained momentum with the second ECMS tranche worth 7,100 crore Indian rupees, which has been approved. At a session in New Delhi, leaders in industry hailed the scheme's role in boosting high-value component manufacturing, strengthening supply chains, and positioning India as a trusted global hub in the journey towards becoming a true product nation. DD Prasar Bharati filed this report.
India's electronics story is entering a new era, one driven by ambition, innovation, and a powerful policy push. The Electronics Component Manufacturing Scheme, or ECMS, is accelerating India's journey from vision to commitment. With a second tranche of approvals worth over 7,100 crore rupees, the nation is firmly stepping into high value component manufacturing, from HDI and multi layer PCBs to camera modules, copper clad laminates, and passive components. At an event in New Delhi, graced by Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav and Minister of State Jatin Prasada and Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology officials, India unveiled the roadmap of the future.
We focused on certain specific components rather than spreading it thin. We focused on a set of components which are very critical for a long-term growth of the electronics manufacturing ecosystem. With that, the ECMS was conceived, approved by Honorable Prime Minister, and then finally it was rolled out very recently. And I am glad that the team is working so hard that practically every week, new approvals are happening.
ECMS doesn't stand alone. It integrates seamlessly with India's broader vision, the Electronics Manufacturing PLI, the Indian Semiconductor Mission, the DLI scheme for fabless design, and RDI initiatives that power next-gen research and innovation. Together, they complete a full value chain, materials to components, chips to device, and design to manufacturing.
My first ask is development team. Second ask is quality. And third ask is, as far as possible, for everything that you use in your factory, in your plant, in your laboratory, get Swadeshi, get Atmanirbharta. Focus on developing Indian suppliers. Make sure that they also come up to quality levels. Make sure that you hold hands and get them up the value chain. That will define your success in the coming years.
India is not just participating in the global electronics revolution, it is positioning itself as a trusted hub and an emerging product nation for the world. Tapas Bhattacharya's report for DD India.
Let's now take a look at some other developments from around the world as well. The Egyptian-Palestinian documentary One More Show screened at the 46th Cairo International Film Festival. The film nominated for the Audience Award and highlighted the troops' performances in streets, schools and displacement camps. 2 people were missing after 3 homes collapsed early Monday in Cormons near Gorizia, Italy. The collapse was triggered by a landslide following hours of intense overnight rains. The region of Friuli, Venezia, Giulia was also hit by severe storms overnight, bringing widespread flooding and multiple landslides, particularly across the provinces of Udine and Gorizia. In Hagondange, France, employees staged a protest by burning tires outside the Moselle Steel Works, the largest site of the Novasco Group with 434 workers, as the Strasbourg Court deliberated on the future of the struggling steelmaker and its 700 employees. The most likely outcome is a limited takeover that could lead to major job losses, adding further strain to an already battered steel sector. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. India's National Investigation Agency makes a second arrest in Kashmir in the Delhi car blast case. And shooters take India's medals tally to 7 on day 2 of the Deaf Olympics.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says, supply creates its own demand, between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, President Draupadi Murmu met with members of the 16th Finance Commission led by Chairperson Dr. Arvind Panagaria. The 16th Finance Commission submitted their report to the President outlining key financial recommendations for the period of 2026 to 2031, marking an important step in financial planning for the next 5 years. The National Investigation Agency has made another major breakthrough in the Red Fort area car bomb blast probe, arresting a key associate linked to the deadly attack. Jasir Bilalwani was picked up from Srinagar by an NIA team stationed in the valley. Investigators say he allegedly provided critical technical support, including modifying drones and attempting to fabricate rockets, in the lead-up to the blast that killed 10 people and injured 32. Earlier, the National Investigation Agency was granted a 10-day custody of the Delhi blast suicide bomber's co-conspirator Amir Rashid Ali by the Patiala House Court. New Zealand's Minister for Trade and Investment Todd McClay met with the Union Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal in Mumbai. McClay's visit comes shortly after Minister Goyal's successful trip to New Zealand, where the fourth round of India-New Zealand FTA negotiations concluded on a positive note. Both the sides expressed renewed optimism about advancing talks aimed at boosting trade, investment and economic cooperation. The day began with McClay serving as a chief guest at the inauguration of a cricket tournament in Mumbai, an event symbolic of the shared passion for the sport between India and New Zealand. Speaking at the event, Minister Piyush Goyal said that both the nations are working to create a framework in investment, tourism and sports.
It is well known as a sporting nation. Sports and tourism go hand in hand. And Minister Todd and I have been discussing how we can promote sports in both countries.
Now, India's Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Hardeep Singh Puri, participated in a roundtable with leading Japanese industry representatives in Tokyo on Monday. Discussions focused on how India and Japan, two major Indo-Pacific economies, can collaborate to build secure, sustainable and future-ready energy systems. Minister Puri highlighted India's growing energy demand and infrastructure expansion under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, combined with Japan's technological expertise, as a strong foundation for long-term regional energy stability, noting the India-Japan joint vision for the next decade adopted during Prime Minister Modi's August visit. He emphasized over $500 billion in investment opportunities across exploration, LNG, hydrogen, city gas, shipping and new fuels, supported by investor-friendly policies like 100% FDI, transparent bidding and year-round licensing. The 8th edition of the India-UK Joint Military Exercise Ajay Warrior 25 commenced on Monday at the Foreign Training Node, Mahajan Field Firing Ranges, Rajasthan. The 14-day bilateral exercise, running from 17th to the 30th of this month, involves 240 personnel equally from the Indian and British armies, with the Indian Army represented by troops from the Sikh Regiment. Conducted under a United Nations mandate, the exercise focuses on counter-terrorism in semi-urban areas. Over 2 weeks, troops will carry out brigade-level planning, tactical drills, simulations and field exercises to share best practices and enhance coordinated operational skills. Now time for some sporting updates. East Bengal FC started strong in the AFC Women's Champions League, beating BAM Khatoon FC 3-1 in Wuhan. Shilki Devi Himam scored in the 4th minute and Fazila Ikwaput added another in the 32nd. BAM Khatoon pulled one back through Mona Hamoudi's penalty just before half-time. But East Bengal stayed in control and Resti Nanziri sealed the win with a brilliant long-range strike in the 87th minute. The Red and Golds opened their Group B campaign with confidence and will next take on the hosts Wuhan Jiangda on the 20th of this month. Indian shooters continue their remarkable run at the Deaf Olympics. taking the nation's medal tally to 7 after a strong second day. The team secured 1 gold and 2 silver medals. In the men's 10-meter air pistol, Abhinav Deshwal clinched silver with 235.2 points, while equaling the Deaf Olympics qualification world record at 570.6 points. In the women's 10-meter air pistol, Anuya Prasad delivered a golden performance, scoring 241.1 points. Fellow Indian shooter Pranjali Prashant Dhumal added another silver with 236.8 points, defeating Iran's Sami Mehla. With consistent podium finishes, India's deaf athletes are showcasing outstanding skill on the global stage. The World Boxing Championship at Greater Noida has delivered high drama and breakout performances for the host nation. India has now been assured 7 medals. Sumit Kundu opened India's charge, dominating Korean opponent 5-0 in the middleweight category quarterfinals with relentless aggression and tactical control. Pawan Barthwal then produced the tournament's biggest upset, outclassing second seed and World Cup Brazil gold medalist Nur Sultan of Kazakhstan 5-0 in the 55 kg category to secure his first international medal. Bulgarian Boxing Championship 2024 medalist Naveen Kumar too added another composed victory over Kazakhstan's Begzat in the light heavyweight championship, taking the medal tally to 7 on day 2. And that's it for the moment in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. Just scan the QR code and download the app right away. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.